Math is quite abstract. At this point, I have to be really honest because I wasn't caring about attendance. The students end up learning new things. I'm like, I'm free. Chole bhature. I wanted to be a game designer because you can't go back in time.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Utkarsh.
Hi.
This is another one of our podcasts. This is our fifth podcast on Outside the Classroom. We hope you're excited as we are.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's start off the podcast strong with one of your quotes. So, you say math is just a tool, not the end game. Can you please explain your thoughts behind this quote?
So, in terms of someone who teaches physics, and I of course use it as a tool. So, in my personal experience, I use it as a tool. Many mathematicians themselves have realized this quite some time back that many of the interpretations that physics brings to math, otherwise math is quite abstract. Okay.
Yeah.
So, in terms of how you look at math as a tool, it makes you feel that actually math could be, just a means to logically arrive at a conclusion. But to start with, to conclude something, you need to have a question. So I think physics gives you that question, and maths might be helping in arriving at a solution, but not the end game, as I said.
Perfect. So, let's talk about just math in general now. So, how has your relationship been with math through university, school, anything?
Actually, it has been a tricky one. I would have been loving maths, honestly, if I would have not taken maths and bio both in 11th and 12th. So I took up, I ended up taking maths and bio both because I couldn't decide on one. And you know how maybe you might not be knowing it, but earlier it was like PCM or PCB, like for being an engineer or being a doctor. Both combination never, very few students went on taking. So because the bio was so subject heavy in terms of content, one of the favorite thing about maths is you have to practice to know it better. You can't just read it and get better at it. You have to practice a lot. So I couldn't practice that much, and my relation with maths kind of faded away in those 2 years. But when I joined my engineering college, then again it was a catch-up game then, because I already was lagging behind in it. So it's been a rough one, I would say, but gradually with support of physics, I was able to catch up on maths. So I think in this aspect, because practical bits of learning maths was taken out from physics, so I could catch up faster. But trust me, even now, I'm not as much confident as I was at 10th grade with maths, because of that 2 year of gap that I went through.
So you said you took biology in 11th and 12th grade. So why mechanical engineering in university?
Interestingly, because my parents are doctor, both of them are doctor. So and my elder brother is a doctor now, but when I took into becoming a doctor, he was still preparing, and my parents were really not confident he would get into a medical college or not. The best case scenario, one of the kids should be a doctor. So I was kind of pushed into it. Okay, you take bio, and as soon as I found out that my elder brother cleared the MBBS exam, got into a medical college, I'm like, I'm free to take my own subject now. So that was the deal. But studying biology, one thing I came to know is now I focus a lot on words, because learning biology helped me realize that the way something is phrased, if you can dissect that word, you get much meaning out of it, and you will see that's what I do in class as well. Many times I dissect the word and come at a conclusion from it.
Let's transition to schooling. You did bio, you tried appearing for MBBS.
Exactly.
Why did you transition into being a physics teacher?
Well, I think at this point I have to be really honest. Maybe your audience are quite young people as well as some teachers. I don't know what
Yeah.
kind of audience is
Yeah.
there as of now, but I'm being brutally honest. The year I graduated from, like, I had a twinning program in 2 years in Manipal University and 2 years in UK,
I see.
and I was offered a scholarship of £7,000 per year for the
Really?
last 2 years in UK, and that was coming out to be the cheapest in terms of debt I can afford.
I see.
So it was a student debt I went for. So by the time I graduated in 2011, Tony Blair was the president there, and honestly at that time the economy of UK wasn't good, not even now. At that point it was really large unemployment. So he just ended the 1 year post-study work visa. So they had a scheme that after graduating you can stay back for a year and look for work, but he just abandoned that scheme. And as soon as my visa expired, I have to get back to India. And at that point, I really wanted to monetize on my degree rather than go for a new degree again. So coming back to India, having an engineering degree and not getting campus placed,
Yeah.
that's the rock bottom of life. Having an engineering degree, not even an Infosys job, any consulting firm will literally, even in India, I would have graduated even at 3-tier college. A consultancy firm or service sector firm would have hired me for any X amount because I would have had a job.
Yeah.
But being having no job, not getting campus placed was one of the worst situations at that point of time in India. That means you have zero skill essentially, because Infosys or these consultancy companies would hire anyone, and honestly as long as you appear for campus selection.
Yeah.
So that made me realize that I have to really look at other options of what I can make the most of. And in my college years, I actually helped 10 to 12 of my friends to pass physics. So second year subject was physics. So I have coached them. So I enjoyed doing that, and I found out that there were few students where I used to, go, like, coming back to India, I was again thinking of preparing for UPSC. I was thinking of some competitive exam in my mind. So I took admission in one of the coaching centers, and there were the students who were preparing for IIT JEE. That I thought, okay, I can teach them, I can earn extra money. Just that was the thought process, honestly, at that point of time. But after 1 year of mentoring them and teaching them, they were really happy. They got into not IITs, they got into good NITs, and they said that we liked studying with you. And that was the moment I thought that this is just as a part-time, it was good enough to give me good money, so I can explore it as a full-time option, and that was my motivation, honestly.
So what was your calling to physics? Because some of us, we have creative minds. People are attracted to design or arts. Some of us like STEM courses like you. What was that one moment in your life where you had like, I want to do physics, that's my decision?
It's always been one of my favorite subjects, I tell you. Even when I was preparing for PMT, pre-medical test, the college, the coaching teachers there would say that your scores are almost as good as scores from the students who are attempting for IIT JEE. So they were always keen on knowing that why. Because usually people preparing for PMT exam, their physics is the weakest one. But that wasn't the case with me. They would often ask me that, are you planning to shift to IIT coaching or something? They will often ask me. One more thing, I have always been a tech freak. I always wanted to know since childhood that how things work. I always follow the latest tech, latest gaming card or whatever is the latest mobile or cars being launched. So, and always somehow I wanted to know how technology works. So, I'm a wannabe, you can say. I have so much of tech interest. I wanted to be a car designer at certain point when I was growing up. I wanted to be a game designer. So, all of them somehow, when I say car designer, I wasn't like an artist designer. Designing it fundamentally different, or in terms of structurally or using better materials, not in terms of looks or something like that, but yeah, some aspect of how it looks as well. So essentially physics was somehow my favorite. I never knew it until I started teaching it. That's when it became very apparent to me that I like this subject.
So you've had quite a long journey with physics.
Yeah.
So what is any one branch or like topic in physics which is like the most important or which excites you the most?
Quantum physics,
Alright.
mainly because I fail to understand it sometime, and I feel I understand it. I am still not sure whether I understand it or not. Every time I read it, it's fascinating. It's hard to wrap my head around it. The experimental results prove that certain magical things are happening, but to get a grasp over it or try to predict some things are very hard.
Yeah.
So of course, relativity is one of the very introducing, like it's have been introduced in IB now
Yeah.
as a permanent, not optional. But yeah, I think these two areas are something very fascinating to me.
Interesting. Even I'm interested in those areas. You said that you like taught physics to other students who were probably studying for JE and
Yeah.
or trying to get into IIT. So why did you decide to teach physics at a high school level? Why not a more higher level like university or something?
I'll be really honest again. So basically, to teach in a university, you have to have a certain degree.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was not like even now. I feel that if I want to learn something, I have the capacity and the resources to learn it online rather than going for a certified degree.
Yeah.
And my philosophy about learning has changed since the time I graduated. Many factors are influencing that, but I feel that I won't learn anything for the sake of degree now.
Fair enough.
And the universities have very clear-cut criteria about degree requirements that I unfortunately doesn't fulfill.
Yeah.
And I'll say that maybe fortunately students at a degree level college maybe might not be that curious. They are more
Yeah.
tensed about getting a job or maybe other aspects of learning. But when I interact with students at a high school level, they are more curious intrinsically. Their curiosity has not been killed yet, and I like that aspect.
I see. So, as you know, we all have only like 6 months left here. Then we'll also be out at university. Since you study in the UK at Lancaster University, can you share some of your best or worst experiences?
Winters were dreadful.
Yeah.
Going from India, it was dreadful. I would bunk so many classes because it was having a snowfall, or it's too chilly to go out or something like that.
They don't have an attendance issue like
No, they don't have. Yeah, that was a good part.
Yeah.
That they didn't had attendance issue. Also, it could be included as a bad thing because I wasn't caring about attendance. So eventually, I went on missing so many lectures that when the exams arrived, I was clueless, and it was a dreadful experience. Thankfully, it was a twinning program. So in India, the first 2 years we already covered the 4-year course. So because it was so rigorous in India, the Manipal University I went to, the attendance criteria was unrealistically 90%,
Yeah.
and the passing criteria was 75%. So just because they knew that if students didn't get this much of score, none of the university will accept the credits transferred from here. So they made that as a passing criteria. So eventually I ended up learning the 4 years of engineering in 2 years in India. So I could have that liberty to, bunk classes in there. The aspects I really enjoy about is how professors would mingle with the student community there in college. We had electronics professor who would play football with us. He would also mentor us on starting something like people even from my batch went on doing startups or getting incubated about their ideas in the incubation center there. So I found that in 2009-10 era, it was not something that was happening in India, and I could enjoy that there.
Yeah.
But if you think about now, there are universities in India also doing that. So I think, those were really fun things.
Do you think life there in the UK or any foreign country is like vastly different from life in India?
To a certain degree, yes. The way we interact in India with even professors drastically changes there. But human psychology remains the same.
Yeah.
So as long as you have a safety net, you have good friends, you have built up relationships, not with just your classmates, but outside your classmates, like maybe teachers,
Yeah.
or even outside the university. So I actually went on for a part-time job to
I
fund
see.
my weekend parties. So yeah, you have to build relationship. You suddenly realize that you are in a very alien land, and that makes you maybe work harder, or suddenly you are more open to everything.
Mhm.
That's what I thought, that I was really not open to every experience
Yeah.
earlier. But after that, I thought that okay, I'm open to more experiences. I was ready to be involved in more things out there. Uh, and yeah, the culture was really something that was again added to my understanding of how a society can work.
Yeah.
So many aspects, but fundamentally the same, but in a way little bit different. Exposure was really nice.
So would you suggest that people go out to study instead of staying in India?
I definitely would suggest that. It makes you grow as a person. It makes you have varied experience as a person. And as I said that at the end, you are more empathetic towards, when you come back to India especially, you will feel that you are more empathetic to all strata of people here. Earlier you might feel that, oh, this is a blue collar work, this is a white collar work.
Yeah.
Growing up in India, being from a little bit privileged, I can say that you end up getting into that mindset. But there you see people getting treated evenly,
Yeah.
and that makes you think that as a person you come back, then you might feel the differences. But if you are there, you might get lost in the day-to-day struggle there.
Mhm.
But that really hits you once you come back to India.
Yeah. So you talked about a lot of skills like having empathy,
Mhm.
learning how to live, all fresh in like a new foreign country.
Mhm.
What do you think is your most like important advice that you would give to any student going to study abroad?
I say that don't fall into the trap of mingling with only people from your own country. Many of the students I went through, like many of them were only hanging out with Indian community there.
Mhm.
80% of their friends were from Indian community or Asian community. So I'll say that stop falling, have a variety in your circle so that you can imbibe more culture, you can get more exposure. The point of going to a new country is essentially to experience more.
Yeah.
And if you surround yourself with someone, like if you want to stay in a comfort zone even there, you are not really justifying moving to a new country.
Right.
So shed your inhibitions, make friends from many communities. Don't get involved in only one community.
I feel like the school system is kind of restricting us to stay in our own social circles. Do you think you were able to gain enough exposure out there? Because in school we don't have as many social skills as we need in real life, talking to different people, just randomly going up to strangers and making them friends.
I know what you're talking about. I'll give you an example. In the previous school, there was this alumni meet happening, and the people
Yeah.
from alumni came to school, and the whole purpose of meeting was to meet with the students. What happened after half an hour of all the alumni gathered? I saw in a hall that students were talking to students,
Yeah.
alumni were talking to alumni. There was no mixing of the group, and I literally had to go there and say that this is a student who does a TED talk. You are the person who started the TEDx in school. Why don't you talk to each other? I literally went there and said that. So I feel that yes, people are having so many inhibitions. They are never exposed to being vulnerable is a good thing. Like people, like even now, if you look into a social gathering, people will try to cluster up rather
Yeah.
than mingling with unfamiliar situations.
Right.
I think that's not a skill to be taught in school or a college. There will come up a time, a point in your life that you will realize it, that okay, I have to get out of my comfort zone. And the more you try failing at different things, the sooner this will come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's another quote we'll keep in mind.
Okay.
So, as you mentioned before in this podcast, as well as you've told us in class, did your love for gaming develop at university, or before that, after that?
Before that, I think the usual is that all the boys develop love for
Yeah.
gaming. You know, while growing up, I was also, you know, very fascinated with these games, and I would have loved to play long hours of that. My dad was, when I was really young, my dad got a 8-bit video game system, and he will go on playing Contra in front of me, and I was like, my reflexes were not fast enough to play Contra at that time, but I could play Mario. So that's how I got into gaming. But yeah, soon enough I wanted my own PC, then downloaded some games there. So it kept on growing, but because of the lack of time, it somehow got dead in between.
Yeah.
But I was very enthused on how games work, and even when I learned about non-playing character NPCs
Yeah.
and how with the current technology they are trying to feed in a brain to an NPC. So all those things again got my interest back. Now I'm interested in gaming, and I am also interested in the back end of how it works.
Technology.
Yeah, so that makes it even more interesting. When I'm playing a game, I would like I'm just thinking that how are these things working out.
Yeah.
So even the FIFA game you played,
Yeah.
such realistic physics added to that game. It just makes me like wonder every time I play it that wow, like what a simulation. Like so yeah.
What's your current favorite game? FIFA?
FIFA, Need for Speed is one of my favorite.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
That's
one.
a classic.
Yeah.
Do you ever, like you spoke about how boys have this general addiction to gaming, this general liking towards gaming.
Yeah.
For me at least, I always thought of starting a YouTube channel or like a live Twitch stream. That was always my goal, especially in lockdown. We were so sucked into gaming.
I think that's,
I know you have a
good.
channel, Better with Physics.
Better living with physics. Yeah.
Yeah.
BLWP, Better Living with Physics.
Why did you decide to do a physics channel, more career oriented rather than something fun like gaming?
Well, that channel started with me forgetting about what each year I do with my students. Okay. So
Yeah.
every year I teach waves from past 9 years. That channel was incepted only 3 years back. But I was doing so many things with my students, and each year I would have to, you know, think about okay, what I did previously with my students about waves or something like that. So that started as an initiative of, you know, having collection of demonstrations recorded. But yeah, I thought of extending it even further. So I started doing some, you know, physics check videos on it a little bit, you know, is this even possible or is that possible? So some sanity check videos. Couldn't give much time because of a full-time job always in hand, and you know, thinking and actually putting effort to doing it is a whole different game.
Yeah.
I realized that it takes a lot of effort to plan a video, record it, edit it, put it online. So still a work in progress. Maybe I'll also, getting inspired from you guys, I'll also try to rope in some, you know, professionals to help me ease the process so that I can post more frequently.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So a lot of people might not know, but you actually had a job in sales before you got into education.
Yeah.
And it is a very tough job, but it is also very rewarding. So
Yeah.
can you shed some light on your experiences with sales in the past?
Yeah, I realized that you know, the job I went for when I was preparing for UPSC exam or engineering services exam after returning from UK. I thought that okay, I'll try to, you know, prepare for this competitive exam, crack the exam, get a good job. But the whole idea of preparing for competitive exam was so boring and so dull. I went into depression, and I literally one day bought a paper and looked into the walk-in interviews happening in and around NCR, and I went for a walk-in interview. There I didn't care about what job. I just needed a job at that time. So it was a sales job in Jaipur. I joined it, and after that, essentially, I came to know that I have to give the same presentation to many
Yeah.
many companies, and it was fun. I'm like, what? Like I couldn't have asked for anything simpler than this. I was already having interest in mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
So I would just go on explaining how to do preventive maintenance on factories, and for that I went on visiting from pharmaceutical factories to plants actually making cement. Aditya Birla plant making cement.
Wow.
In a tenure of 1 year, I visited 60 plus kind of factories, and looked at how the TMT steel bars used to make infrastructure like buildings,
Yeah.
and or like manufacturing of that, even manufacturing of steel bearings and everything. I have seen so many things, but the aspect of my job was only delivering that preventive maintenance slides and trying to pitch in more products. If the company is buying A product, sell them, upsell them,
Yeah.
B, C, D, make a package, sell them. So the company already had a fixed demand from certain customers, and in that 1 year I wasn't really able to make sales because of my effort, but I was just educating them on how to do preventive maintenance. And after like even for 6 months I actually worked. I went on collecting contacts. I was intrigued by the actual functioning of factories. There was a lot of learning experience. Then it got boring. Then I would just show those cards on an Excel sheet every day for the rest 6 months. And I realized they will soon find out that I'm not visiting any place. I'm just putting the names of the managers each day on the Excel sheet randomly. They would have found out. And before that I thought, okay, and in between I told you I was giving tuitions to IIT JEE
Yeah.
students. So in between I got interested in teaching, and I was like, okay, this is decent money, I'll do this. That's
Talking
it.
about preventive maintenance, let's just take a short 2 minute break. We'll just have a check
Yeah.
whether all the cameras are rolling.
All
Yeah,
right,
perfect.
sure.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far.
Yes, yes.
So we'll start with some rapid fire questions right now,
Alright.
just to get to know you better.
Okay.
You can try answering as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Firstly, your favorite movie.
Inception.
That's a good one. Favorite book.
I don't read books.
Favorite food.
Chole bhature.
Favorite travel destination.
Amsterdam.
Favorites too. Never mind. Favorite way to pass time.
Way to pass time. FIFA.
Favorite celebrity.
No, none.
Favorite favorite animal.
Panda.
Oh,
Tea or coffee.
Coffee.
morning or night.
I was gonna say evening, but no option given. Anyway.
Mountains
Morning.
or beaches.
Mountain.
Cats or dogs.
Cats.
Classical music or pop.
Classical.
Writing or reading.
Writing.
Summer or winter.
Winter.
Pen or pencil.
Pen.
Board games or video games.
Video games.
In class, a lecture or a discussion.
Discussion.
A planned schedule or spontaneous adventure.
Second. Spontaneous.
Okay. So, let's take a little short detour back to your life as a teacher. So, this is kind of a controversial question, but would you rather, like, did you enjoy rather being a teacher at DIS or OIS? And, like, how would you compare the two?
That's a tough one. It's a new journey here. I'm enjoying it as of now. And for me, I don't look for enjoyment in my job actually. I take it very seriously. I'm very passionate about teaching physics.
Yeah.
So it's a byproduct that I find intense satisfaction if I feel that my students have learned. And I believe wherever I am, I'll make sure, or to my capability, I'll make sure that the students end up learning new things. So as of now, I'll rather not make a statement about it, because from the way I see it, students are curious intrinsically.
Yeah.
And as far as I am interacting in that duration of the interaction with my students, it's very personal. It doesn't have to do with building I am in.
We've
Fair
seen
enough.
that in your class. We're both in your class, and you're always, every class we have some experiment going on, some hands-on activity.
Like-
And of course, you're good at explanation.
We love the way you do the discussions in class, the jokes in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank
So,
you so much.
if not physics, which other subject would you teach?
Well, maths. Although I'll have to train myself to do that, yeah, but definitely maths.
Let's go to outside the classroom actually now. What does a day in your life look like?
Outside of school.
Yeah, well, our work day is mostly school only. After going back, I'll nap for a bit, then I'll probably start searching again some cool things on internet, reading something, some articles. Mostly these days I'm trying to learn to be a full stack developer.
Mhm.
So I'll go on to some MOOC course and resume my thing there.
I see.
I would record videos, a couple of videos in between if possible, or edit something. So mostly it's very creative thing I would go back and do. And a good night meal and a good night sleep. I have managed to keep my schedule in the last 6 months in a very planned way, and I'm proud about it. Earlier it would have been a very non-planned thing.
I see.
But yeah, I have done this planning, included this planning to my schedule, and I think I'm more present in school in terms of my energy level, and as a person as well, I'm able to grasp more because I make sure that I have a good night's sleep before. Earlier it was something I was struggling with.
Yeah.
So now, this week at school has been very busy, especially for you with summitives, 11th grade summitives, PGs, all of that. So usually, how do you cope up after a busy week? What do you do on the weekend to like wind out?
I'll fight with my wife a couple of times on the weekend and take her out in as a compensation of fighting, and that will consume my whole weekend. And of course, other than physics, food is something I'm very fond of. So I'll try to explore new places in Mumbai. Although I have found out that the Instagram suggestions from the influencers are not to go for. But at the end of the day, I want to explore this city more, especially this part of the city. So that is what I end up doing. I end up planning a couple of dinners, like mostly Saturday or Sunday, one of the dinner outside, and maybe I'm a big fan of Malwani food and Konkan food, so I'll just splurge on some of the menus that I get suggested by some of the people.
Yeah. You spoke a bit about coding, and it just popped in my head that you used to do some blockchain technology and full stack development. Can you just explain a bit about that?
Yeah, so I was into crypto a little bit in between. I lost some amount of money there as well. But everyone who was into it have essentially lost a little bit. But I feel that when I was into it, I wanted to use that technology to change the way Indian democracy works.
Yeah.
So I went on creating this application called Democracy, which would pool in money from all the contributors in form of a crypto, and it will fund a genuine political candidate. It will just fund a genuine political candidate who doesn't have a background, because that to win election in India you have to have money, right?
Of course.
And if anybody is putting money to win election, how are you expecting that person to not recover that money? It's a business, right?
Yeah.
They put in money to win election, so after coming to power they will recover that money, right? So that's the whole point of having this corruption. Because if somebody is corrupted, there is a reason of a person being corrupted. He have put in so much money to win election, how can he not be corrupt? So I wanted to create this platform where people can pool in money for a genuine candidate, and that would contest election on their behalf. And then because they have not put money from their own account, they will end up working for actually people, not them, for themselves.
So you're saying crypto is a much safer way of
Actually, I think that crypto is a way to kind of create a decentralized political system
Mm-hmm.
where like essentially if you want to be a politician, any career has a career path.
Yeah.
But the all the democratic countries have made sure that there is no career path leading to being politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They have made, so it's all like it's said that we are living in a democratic country, but even now the lineages of political people are coming to power again and
Yeah.
again. So it's kind of hierarchy only, right? It's a niche where a particular families and their relatives are only allowed to enter,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not a common people, because there is no path to enter politician to become a politician.
So now we'll prevent from diving too deep into politics.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
been a long day, so we'll just ask the last 2-3 questions, and
Yeah.
we'll wrap up this recording.
Yes.
So my one of the last few questions to you is, what is that one motto in life that you follow very religiously, like every day, every single week?
I feel there's no. It will come as a surprise. There's not a one motto I follow, honestly, but to me, karma is a big thing. So I believe work is worship.
Yeah.
So I keep doing like what is required rather than what I want to do.
Yeah.
I identify what is required from in life from me to my family to whoever the stakeholders are, or even for myself there are certain responsibility to myself as a person.
Yeah.
So if I can manage all those requirements, that's what I'm trying to do these days, and that are a few positive changes. If I'm following those, I'm able to bring.
Yeah, and you've even taught our class to express gratitude. So every time we enter, we touch the floor, we pray.
Yeah, well, that is aspect again I'm following very religiously. I believe that I was privileged enough and I never cared to pay enough gratitude to that privilege.
Yeah.
And somehow it has affected me. And when I look back, I think that I could have been more thankful for everything that was given to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want you or any younger, people I come across to have that feeling that okay, I was not thankful enough.
Right.
So because you can't go back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair
So
point.
you be present, you be thankful at the moment, and keep doing your best. So that's why I told you guys. Otherwise, this was not something that was happening in my
Yeah.
previous job. But I thought that okay, I'm new, you will listen, and it's been happening across all the grades I have been doing. Like I have been conducting classes, but the younger kids tend to forget it. I remind them that. But you guys have picked it pretty quickly, so thank you.
No problem, sir. So just wrapping up, can you just look at the camera and give any one piece of advice to just students our age, or like the audience watching in general?
Yeah. Well, one piece of advice is be rebel, but also be kind.
I see.
That's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope you enjoyed the podcast.
I did. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Perfect.